Graham, coming back to you, obviously you talked about one of the key drivers around that kind of sovereignty out of control aspect was around kind of cost control and reduction. In terms of actually people coming up with a strategy to move forward and needing to add those competencies, those skills to the team looking at it, do you see things around kind of financial analysis? What else are you seeing that's actually useful and kind of beneficial for the customers to really get a handle on what's happening in that space?
I mean, I think mainly what we've seen is just a realisation. I still think it's early days in terms of how they will do that cost analysis, but certainly there is a desire to be able to have just more control over, not be at the behest of any vendor that can say, right, okay, we're going to increase your prices by X amount, and you're stuck there with all your workloads on that infrastructure, and you literally cannot move because your exit fees would be so high that it would outstrip any savings that you would make by doing so. So there is just a desire to be, as you mentioned earlier, this kind of abstraction layer, which is how can I be in a position where if I do need to ever move workloads from one infrastructure to the other, whether it's from cloud back to on-prem or on-prem into cloud, how do I do that in a way that allows me to do without disrupting my business, but also, take back a bit more control over the cost. Now, it may be that there is no real massive cost benefit moving from one infrastructure to the other. That's all depending on price, but I think by being in that situation now, and you talked about, I think earlier with Ukraine and Russia, if you look at kind of these three S's of survivability, self-sufficiency, this is kind of where organisations are looking at, and they see that cost is one of those big areas, because if they're stuck and say, you are now stuck in our infrastructure because we cannot exit because of cost, that can have a big impact on the survivability of any business if they're hit by other factors that come in. So I think it's more just a desire to say, how can we as an organisation future-proof us so that when we do put workloads, wherever we put them, that we have the ability to move them with minimal disruption to our business, and also the ability to then point them to another infrastructure where the costs are maybe more beneficial. So there's a lot of focus on that. Again, it comes back to that portability story. That's the biggest message that we are getting. How can we be in a situation where we can have workloads that are as portable as possible?
It's interesting.